Okay, Michelle, we're going to get started today. Looking over your assignment here for chapter 5 here, section 5.1, number 26. It says to evaluate the function and then sketch a graph. So we're gonna actually make a table here to do this, and then we'll be able to make a graph. So your table, we're going to look at values for x and y here. Starts out by looking at -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We're actually going to start with 0. 0 is probably the easiest one to do. 1 minus 2 times 0. So notice I'm substituting in parentheses. 1 minus 0 is 1. Let me actually move that down to make it fit a little bit better. So now f of 1 is 1 minus 2 times 1, which is 1 minus 2, which is -1. F of 2 means to put 2 in for x. 1 minus 2 times 2. 1 minus 4 is -3. Now you might see a pattern here. They're actually going down by 2 each time. So if we continue the pattern, 3 down by 2 is 1, 5 down by 3, down by 2 is 3. That's verified if you go ahead and put in -2 in for x. 1 minus 2 times -2. 1 plus 4 is 5. Okay, so in terms of your graph here, I mean, this is a straight line. So you shouldn't be too surprised what it looks like when you're all done. You end up graphing the points are 0, 1, 1, -1, 2, -3, and so on here. And you get a graph that looks like this for number 26. All right, so we'll do 30 next. 30 is really similar. So actually I'll skip that one. It's really similar to the one we just did, just different numbers here. Let's see what 32 looks like. All right, so 32. Snip that in. All right. So the instructions for 32 say to find h of 4 and h of -4. So you're literally putting 4 in for x. 4 squared minus 2 times 4. Again, wherever you see an x, you're substituting in. I like to do that in parentheses. 4 squared is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. This is 8. And then h of -4. It's super critical when you're substituting in for negative numbers to do that in parentheses. 2 times -4. -4 squared is +16. -2 times -8 is +8. This equals 24. All right, let's take a look here. 34 is next. Let's take a look at 34. Really similar here, but I'll snip this one in and work through. It's usually the negative numbers that are more problematic when it comes to substituting. So g of 4 means to put 4 in for x. 1 minus 4 squared. So you have to square first. 1 minus 16 is -15. And then g of -4 is 1 minus parentheses -4 squared. Again, always substitute in parentheses. You do the exponent first. 1 minus 16 equals -15. And then the last problem here is 36. So actually look back here. 34. They give you different g values. I didn't pick up on that. Let me redo this here. Making mistakes all over the place. Okay, they want you to find g of -2. 1 minus -2 squared. That's 1 minus 4 or -3. G of 1 is 1 minus 1 squared. 1 minus 1 is 0. And again, if I always substitute for parentheses for negatives, sometimes not for positives, kind of your call on that front. Okay, 36. Again, they didn't realize this, but they just give you different values of g to evaluate. So wherever you see an x, you're going to substitute in. So let's see here. We got g of -2 equals -2 squared plus -2 minus 1. So -2 squared is 4, -2 minus 1. 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. And then we're going to do it again here for g of +1. 1 squared plus 1 minus 1. 1 squared is 1, plus 1 is 2, minus 1 is +1. So that looks like it takes care of section 5.1. Let me go back and actually do 30. I didn't realize this was going to go so fast. So I'll go back and knock out number 30 real quick. It's kind of the same thing. So you've got to evaluate it at 0. I'm sorry, you're evaluating it at -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, x and then y. So at 0, f of 0 means 3 minus 2 times 0, which is 3. F of 1 is 3 minus 2 times 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. F of 2 is 3 minus 2 times 2, which is -1. And you see the pattern, right? They're going down by 2. So this is 5, this is 7. Yeah, and I don't know how accurate your graph needs to be, but you know, you want to get as close as you can to being reasonable here with this. So it looks something like that when you're done. All right, so let's head up to over to section 5.2. 5.2, number 6. Let me snip that in. Right, so number 6. Okay, so slope formula. So you do have to know this formula. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The subscripts are just used to differentiate between the different ordered pairs. So like the first one is x1, y1, the second one is x2, y2, and then you're just putting those numbers into the formula. Okay, and again, if you're going to substitute, you should substitute in parentheses for negatives. Here it's 3 minus 0, there's no negatives, 4 minus 2. Again, just following the pattern, y2, y1, x2, x1. Simplify the top, simplify the bottom. That's your final answer. All right, so now the number 8 has some negatives in it. That's going to be, you know, a little bit more complicated. Again, it's always good to write out that formula, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So this, again, and I like to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's 0 minus 2 over 4 minus a minus 3. So again, whenever I substitute for negatives, I put it in parentheses. That just really helps there. -2, 4 minus a minus 3 is 4 plus 3, which is 7. That's your final answer on that one. All right, again, more slopes. Like, try not to just jump to conclusions about the slope. Just use the formula. You know, later on when you've seen a few more of these, then then it's okay to say, oh, does this one have a horizontal or a vertical slope? Well, we'll find out once we work through it here. So x2 and y2. So y2 is 4, y1 is 4, x2 is -4. And the reason I'm not putting in parentheses because it's out in front. It's really the second ones that are more important, -4. So 4 minus 4 is 0, but -4 minus 4 is -8. 0 over anything is 0. So this is a horizontal line. Number 12 here. Really important because you're going to start writing equations of lines. That's why you're finding the slopes, x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. -2 minus a -4 is -2 plus 4. If it helps, write out the steps. This one you can reduce. 2 goes into both the top and the bottom. And then you always put the negative up top just for clarity on that. So that is a -1/4. Last one here in this grouping. Again, another kind of exception, this is either a horizontal or a vertical line. We'll talk about that more later. Slope is y2, 5, minus y1, -2, -3 minus a -3. 5 minus a -2 is 7 over -3 minus a -3, which is 0. Division by 0 is very bad in math. Definitely don't want to do that. This one has no slope, or what is called undefined slope. Undefined slope, and it's a vertical line. You probably see more of that upcoming, maybe in a future section. So that takes care of 5.2. Let's go to 5.3, number 2. 5.3. Number 2. Okay. So there's a couple of ways to do this problem. But the way it's given, I'm going to presume that they want you to use the intercept approach. They're asking you to find the x and the y intercept. This works a little bit better in person, but the first thing you do is you set x equal to 0. And I know you can't do this, but imagine if you could cover up the 5x, because 5x is zero because 5 times 0 is 0, and you're just left with the minus 2y equals 20. Okay, but if you don't see that, 5 times 0 minus 2y equals 20, it ends up being minus 2y equals 20 because 5 times 0 is 0. Divide by -2, and y equals -10. So this is your first ordered pair on your graph. Again, not to scale, but 0, -10, down here. Then you let y equal 0. It's kind of like going the other direction, all right? And if you could, like if you could imagine covering up the 2y now, because anything times 0 is 0, you just get the 5x equals 20. But if you don't see that, I'll show that here. 5x minus 2 times 0 equals 20, which is 5x equals 20. That minus goes with the 2. It goes away completely. Divide by 5. X equals 4. So again, another ordered pair here, 4, 0, just like it was 0, minus 10. If you were to graph this, which it's not asking for, you would have these ordered pairs here, 4, 4, 0. But the reason you know graphing helps, this one is the y-intercept. That's when x equals 0. The x-intercept is when y equals 0. And that's the takeaway from this problem here. All right. Hopefully that was clear. Definitely, would be nice to have a little more dialogue on that front, but let's see. Number 8 is next. Sorry, 4 is next. We're going to go to 8 though. We'll come back to 4 because 8 is much more like the one we just did. So let's snip that in here. All right. So again, if you want to find the y-intercept, you're setting x equal to 0. When you set x equal to 0, the x term goes away. So you're just left with this plus 3y equals 18. Divide both sides by 3, and y equals 6. So that's your first ordered pair. 0, 6 is your y-intercept. Now next you set y equal to 0, and that's for your x-intercept. So again, like 3 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is nothing, so it's just the 2x equals 18. And that's kind of the the power behind this method is you can quickly get the intercept. So it's 9, 0. That's your x-intercept. So let me take a look at 12, see what 12 looks like. It's like any of these. So 12's moving in a different direction. So let me go back and do 4. It's just this one's different because it's not in standard form. Okay, but you still do the same thing. If you want to find the y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. So y equals 5 times 0 plus 35, and you get y equals 35. So that's your x-intercept, y-intercept, sorry. If you want to find your x-intercept, you have to set y equal to 0, and this is a little more work. So we're gonna set 0 equal to 5x plus 35. Subtract 35 from both sides. Divide by 5, so x equals -7. So -7, 0 is your x-intercept. So we'll go down and look at number 12. Okay, so 12 is a bit deceptive here. They want you to find the slope and the y-intercept. So at some point in this section, you learned about y equals mx plus b. M is the number in front of x. Okay, that's one way to think of it. B is the other number. Now, unfortunately, with your problem, it's not written in the right form. This negative goes with the 3, so it's minus 3x. The 4 is actually positive, so now it's 4 plus 4 like this. Now, if I write the y equals mx plus b underneath, you kind of can see the values right there. M is -3 and b is 4, but you have to rewrite it. You cannot try to do it in its existing form. If you take future math classes, you will do more rewrites. That's just the part of this class here. Okay, so number 18, I guess it's the same deal here. So this one's slightly different. There's kind of a lot going on here that they're not telling you that would be, useful in terms of an explanation. Oops, let me get that, make that widescreen here. Okay. So we really want this to get into y equals mx plus b form. And what that basically means is you have to solve for y. You have to get y by itself. So you're going to subtract 5x from both sides of the equation. It's better to put it in front. 3y equals minus 5x plus 15. You cannot combine like terms, okay? Y is almost by itself, but it's being multiplied by 3. So you divide everything by 3. It's not a choice. This becomes minus 5/3 x plus 5. I'm going to write the form underneath y equals mx plus b like that. And you can see that m is minus 5/3 and b is 5. All right, so that takes care of section 5.3. So we'll go down to now to 5.4, number 6. See what it's asking here. It says to write an equation for the given data, right? An equation for the given data here. Okay. So there are 3 equations of a line that you need to know. Could go through more of this when you're ready, but the first one here is called slope intercept form. And it refers to the y-intercept. That's the y equals mx plus b. They're telling you, and this is really nice, they're telling you the slope is 3/4 and the b value is minus 3. That y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So really all you've got to do is substitute those numbers. That's not right. You have to substitute those numbers into the equation. So y equals 3/4 x minus 3, and that's your final answer on that one. So you might think you got it, and maybe you do. I don't know if number 8's any harder. It is not. They're giving you the information already. They're telling you the slope and they're telling you the b value. I mean, the slope is right there, 3/4. That's the b value. So when you write y equals mx plus b, y equals 4/5 x minus 2, you're just substituting those numbers in, and that's your answer. Not really much math here yet. Maybe it gets a little harder, and it does. Okay, so 10 is a little bit more difficult because not only do you have to calculate, well, you have to find the equation of a line. It says write an equation line passing through the 2 given points. So first you have to find the slope. That's why we learned that formula from earlier, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, okay? So if you need to, again, you can write them x1, y1, x2, y2, and see what you come up with. So we got 7 minus 3 over 4 minus 2. So it's 4 over 2, which reduces to 2 over 1. So that's your slope. So y equals mx plus b. Take your slope of 2 and put it in for m. Okay. Now notice you have 3 unknowns, y, x, and b. If you had an x and a y, you could find b. So I'm going to use the first one here. X is 2, y is 3. I'm going to substitute those in and solve for b. Oops, I didn't substitute for x. X is 2. That's the x and y here, plus b. It doesn't matter which ordered pair you use. You could use the other one if you wanted. It's just sometimes there's a preference, but in this one, there is no preference. So we subtract 4 from both sides and get b equals minus 1. That goes back into this line. Your final equation has to have, we're substituting for b, it has to have an x and a y in it. It has to have an x and a y in it. All right, so that's number 10. So we need to do 12 and 18. So very, very similar here. Same setup. So we got to first find the slope of number 12. Probably should have mentioned this earlier. It's always good to pause the video and see if you can work it out on your own. Slope is 2 minus a minus 4 over 1 minus a minus 2. That's 6 over 3, which is 2 again. So we have y equals 2x plus b. That's the mx plus b again. This time I'm going to use this ordered pair because I don't like negatives. So 2 equals 2 times 1 plus b. 2 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2 from both sides and b equals 0. That goes back into this line here. And you're just left with y equals 2x like that. All right. Last one for at least for this problem set here is number 18. Here we go. Again, you're going to have to find the slope. So You got to know that formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Hopefully by now it's like, okay, I got it. Maybe you don't like it, but it can be done here. All right. So you write the equation of the line minus 2x plus b. This time they both have negatives, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I guess I'm slightly more drawn to this one. 4 equals minus 2 times minus 1 plus b. 4 equals 2 plus b. Subtract the 2, b equals 2. That goes back in this line here. Y equals minus 2x plus 2. All right. Well, looks like that'll do it for today. Thank you so much for letting me help you out, and I'll see you next time.